Have you ever wondered why silence feels so comforting, yet so dangerous at the same time? There is a unique kind of peace in being alone within the walls of your home. No one questions you. No one interrupts your flow of thought. You move through your space freely, doing what you want, when you want. For many women, that solitude feels like freedom. It is a refuge from the chaos of the outside world, a chance to breathe, to think, to be without judgment. But the same silence that feels like a blessing can slowly become a prison if you are not careful. Alone, you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to perform for anyone. You don't have to wear a mask or pretend to be stronger than you feel. That kind of safety is intoxicating. It gives you the illusion of control, as if life will hurt less if you just shut the door and remain hidden. But here's the truth most people don't realize. Too much comfort can turn into danger. A habit of staying alone can create an invisible wall between you and the world, and the longer you live behind that wall, the harder it becomes to step outside. The mind loves routine. When you repeatedly choose solitude, your brain learns to cling to it. What starts as rest turns into retreat. What begins as recharging your soul becomes escaping from life. You may tell yourself you're protecting your peace, but slowly you're training yourself to fear connection, to avoid growth, and to accept a smaller version of yourself. That is the hidden risk of enjoying being alone too much. What once felt like healing can quietly become self-destruction. Ask yourself, what do you lose when you stay inside for too long? You lose opportunities to grow through conversations. You lose the chance to build bonds that could inspire you, challenge you, or guide you to the next stage of your life. You lose the spark of shared laughter, the comfort of being understood, the joy of realizing you are not walking this path alone. The silence of solitude has a cost, and many do not realize they are paying it until years have passed and regret sits heavy in their hearts. Psychologists tell us that humans are wired for connection. It's not weakness, it's biology. Our nervous system responds to voices, faces, touch, and interaction. They regulate stress, keep the mind balanced, and fuel our sense of purpose. When those connections are missing, the brain starts to trick you. It convinces you that staying alone is safer, that people will only hurt you, that your peace depends on cutting the world away. And yet, the loneliness deepens. The soul begins to ache in ways you can't put into words. That ache doesn't scream loudly. It whispers. It hides under your smile. It lingers when you lie awake at night. This is why solitude, if not balanced, can quietly drain your spirit. Think about it. Are you truly choosing to be alone, or are you hiding from something? Are you protecting your peace or avoiding the discomfort of facing life? The answer matters, because it shapes your destiny. A woman who knows how to stand alone is powerful, but a woman who allows loneliness to consume her loses the very strength she was trying to protect. The home you love for its comfort can become the cage that traps your potential. But here is where hope lives. Awareness is power. Once you understand that being alone carries both light and shadow, you can reclaim control. Solitude can still be your ally, but it must be a tool, not a trap. The reward of recognizing this truth is freedom. The freedom to enjoy your own company without sacrificing your connection to life itself. And when you learn to strike this balance, you discover something extraordinary. You don't just exist behind closed doors, you begin to live fully, to shine, to let your presence change the world around you. So stay with this message until the end, because what you will discover is more than advice. It is a mirror showing you the patterns that could quietly steal your joy. It is a all to wake up before silence becomes your enemy. It is a reminder that your life is bigger than four walls, bigger than the comfort of routine, bigger than the quiet you've grown used to. Deep inside, your spirit longs not just for safety, but for purpose, connection, and expansion. And once you see this clearly, you will never look at solitude the same way again. The danger of being alone for too long is not always obvious. It does not arrive like a storm with thunder and lightning. It creeps in slowly, almost invisibly, until one day you realize the silence that once gave you peace now weighs heavy on your chest. This is how isolation begins to steal from you, not in one sharp moment, but in small pieces of your spirit every single day. The quiet that once refreshed your mind now feels like a dull ache. The stillness that once brought you joy begins to feel like emptiness. And that is the hidden danger of isolation. It disguises itself as comfort until it becomes a cage you didn't eave and know you built. Your heart might tell you, "I'm fine. I don't need anyone." But the human mind and body were never designed to live in isolation. Psychology has proven time and again that connection is as vital as food, water, and air. When you cut yourself off from others, you starve your soul. The brain begins to shift. Levels of stress hormones rise. Anxiety becomes louder. Energy fades. You begin to lose interest in things that once made you happy. This isn't weakness. It is biology. Your nervous system thrives on interaction. Without it, you become vulnerable to the shadows of your own thoughts. That is why isolation is so deceptive. It convinces you that you are safe, when in reality you are weakening. You may not notice it at first. You may even celebrate it, thinking you are protecting your peace. But slowly, the voice inside you becomes harsher. Overthinking takes control. Small problems feel bigger. Doubt creeps in, confidence begins to shrink, and before long the world outside feels too overwhelming, too noisy, too heavy to face. That is the real danger. Not that you are simply alone, but that you forget how to step back into life when the time comes. There is a kind of erosion that happens in the soul when isolation is left unchecked. You lose the sharpness of your mind, the strength of your spirit, and the joy of connection. You may feel that you are escaping pain by being alone, but what you are actually doing is cutting yourself off from the very things that help you heal. Studies have shown that prolonged loneliness can be more damaging to your health than smoking, obesity, or lack of exercise. This isn't just about emotions, it is about your life, your body, your energy. When you stay isolated, your heart carries a heavier burden, your immune system weakens, and your spirit grows restless. Ask yourself, is solitude helping you grow, or is it slowly taking from you what you cannot get back? Every time you choose to close the door and remain inside, you are making a decision to either recharge your soul or to withdraw from life. The difference lies in intention. When you rest in solitude, with the purpose of renewal, it strengthens you. But when you hide in solitude to escape, it weakens you. The more you repeat this escape, the more your brain accepts it as normal. Soon, what was once a choice becomes a habit, and what was once a habit becomes your identity. The mind is powerful, but it is also fragile. When it begins to believe that the world outside is dangerous, it will cling to isolation as if it were survival. That is why awareness matters so much. You must catch yourself before the silence becomes too loud, before the comfort becomes too heavy, before the days of being alone turn into years of lost potential. Because isolation not only keeps you away from others, it keeps you away from yourself. It blinds you to your strength, it silences your voice, and it convinces you that smallness is safer than greatness. But you were not born to live small. You were not created to shrink in the shadows of your own walls. The same spirit that craves silence also craves meaning. And meaning is never found in hiding. It is found in the balance of solitude and connection, in the courage to be with yourself and still open your heart to the world. You cannot let isolation trick you into believing that peace means staying hidden. Real peace comes when you know how to face life, embrace connection, and still remain whole. This is why you must be careful. Because the danger of isolation is not that you lose others, it is that you lose yourself. You lose the fire that makes you alive. You lose the courage to grow. You lose the joy of being seen, heard, and loved. But once you awaken to this truth, you have the power to change. You have the power to step out, to breathe, to remind yourself that life is waiting beyond the silence. And the reward is priceless: clarity, energy, purpose, and the strength to live boldly, instead of quietly fading away. When a woman begins to spend too much time alone, something subtle happens inside her heart. At first it feels like rest, a break from the noise of expectations, the demands of others, and the constant pull of responsibilities. But slowly, the walls that once felt protective begin to push her further away from the people who care about her. Emotional distance grows almost without notice. She starts to withdraw, not just from others, but from herself. Her laughter becomes less frequent, her voice softer, her presence dimmer. This is the quiet trap of emotional withdrawal, and it is one of the heaviest weights a soul can carry. The human heart is built for connection. It thrives on love, understanding, and shared energy. When a woman chooses to retreat too deeply, her heart loses the rhythm of closeness. Conversations that once gave her joy now feel draining. Simple interactions become overwhelming. She may even convince herself that she doesn't need anyone at all. Yet beneath that shield of independence, there is a quiet ache, a loneliness that grows louder with each day of silence. This loneliness is not the absence of people around her, it is the absence of true emotional presence within her own life. Psychologists describe emotional withdrawal as a defense mechanism. It is the mind's way of protecting itself from pain, disappointment, or rejection. But what begins as protection eventually becomes self-sabotage. Every time you pull back, you teach yourself to expect less from life. You lower your standards of joy, of intimacy, of connection. You accept emptiness as normal. And when emptiness becomes normal, hope begins to fade. Without hope, the world outside looks threatening, relationships feel unnecessary, and the heart chooses silence over expression. That is how withdrawal steals not only relationships but also dreams, ambitions, and the fire of self-belief. Think about what happens to the mind when emotional withdrawal takes root. Overthinking replaces conversation. Insecurity replaces confidence. Doubt replaces openness. The longer you stay withdrawn, the more your inner world becomes crowded with thoughts that weigh you down instead of lifting you up. You begin to believe lies like, no one understands me, or a sigh, I'm better off alone. But those are not truths. They are symptoms of a heart longing for connection but too afraid to reach for it. And fear, when left unchecked, becomes the architect of your reality. The danger is not only in losing others, it is in losing your own reflection. When you withdraw emotionally, you forget how to express love. You forget how to receive it. Your eyes stop shining the way they once did. Your smile fades into memory, and your presence becomes a shadow. This is not the life you were meant to live. You were not created to numb your emotions, to hide your light, to carry the weight of loneliness as if it were strength. Strength is not silence. Strength is not pretending you do not need anyone. Real strength is knowing when to stand alone and when to allow yourself to be seen, heard, and loved. Science confirms what the soul already knows. Social and emotional bonds are powerful medicine. They reduce stress, improve health, and give the mind resilience against anxiety and depression. When you cut yourself off emotionally, you are denying your heart its natural nourishment. Imagine starving your body of food, not for one day, but for months or years. That is what emotional withdrawal does to the soul. It starves it of connection until it grows weak, fragile, and empty. And when the soul weakens, everything else begins to crumble. Your motivation, your energy, your joy in simply being alive. Yet even in this struggle, there is hope. Because emotional withdrawal is not permanent. It is a state, not a destiny. The same walls you built can be brought down brick by brick. It begins with awareness, recognizing that closing yourself off does not protect you. It only limits you. It continues with courage, the willingness to step out of the silence and allow your heart to open again little by little, and it is fueled by intention, the choice to value your emotions, to honor your need for connection, to embrace vulnerability as a form of strength. A woman who dares to reconnect with her emotions after withdrawing discovers something powerful. She finds that her voice is stronger than she remembered. Her laughter carries deeper meaning. Her relationships feel more authentic. And most importantly, she realizes that her independence was never threatened by connection. True independence is the ability to be whole within yourself and still share that wholeness with others. Withdrawal robs you of that truth, but awareness restores it. So be mindful of the silent trap. Do not confuse emotional withdrawal with peace. Do not let the fear of being hurt convince you to abandon the beauty of being alive. Your emotions are not weaknesses, they are language of your soul. They remind you that you are human, that you are alive, that you are capable of giving and receiving love. Protecting yourself by shutting down may feel safe, but it is not freedom. Freedom is the courage to feel fully, to live fully, to love fully, and to never let silence steal your light. Many women begin to believe that withdrawing and isolating themselves is a sign of strength. They tell themselves, I don't need anyone, I'm better off alone. Depending on people only leads to disappointment. On the surface, this looks like independence, like power, like resilience. But beneath the surface lies a painful truth. What appears to be strength is often just loneliness, dressed in disguise. When you convince yourself that needing no one is the ultimate power, you begin to build your life on a foundation of emptiness. There is a difference between solitude and isolation, and between strength and detachment. Real strength does not come from closing yourself off, but from learning how to stand tall even while connected to others. It takes far more courage to love, to trust, to communicate, and to be vulnerable than it does to lock yourself away. True independence does not mean you carry everything alone. It means you have the confidence to choose who deserves a place in your life and who does not. Yet when loneliness masquerades as strength, that distinction is lost, and what you think is empowerment becomes a silent form of suffering. The danger is that loneliness feels deceptively protective. You avoid disappointment because you avoid expectations. You avoid heartbreak because you avoid intimacy. You avoid rejection because you never allow yourself to be seen fully. But in protecting yourself from pain, you also block yourself from joy. You cut off opportunities to experience love, connection, and growth. What is left is a hollow victory. Yes, no one has hurt you, but no one has truly touched your soul either. And a life without deep connecti. Bonds is not strength, it is survival at its lowest form. Psychology reminds us that humans are social beings by design. We regulate emotions, stress, and even physical health through connection. To deny yourself these bonds in the name of strength is to deny yourself the very nourishment your spirit needs to thrive. Studies have shown that people with meaningful relationships live longer, heal faster, and experience greater resilience in the face of challenges. Meanwhile, those who isolate often face higher levels of anxiety, depression, and even physical illness. The body carries the weight of the soul's loneliness, and no amount of pretending can change that truth. Think about what happens when you tell yourself you don't need anyone. At first, it feels liberating, like cutting chains, but over time it becomes a heavy chain of its own. You start to feel restless. Small problems become overwhelming because you have no outlet, no shared perspective, no comforting presence to balance your thoughts. The inner dialogue grows harsher. Self-doubt takes root. Confidence diminishes. And without realizing it, the mask of strength becomes the burden of loneliness. The saddest part is that many women wear this mask for so long they forget it is a mask. They convince themselves this is who they are, silent, untouchable, unbothered. But deep inside, the heart whispers a different story. It longs to be seen. It longs to be valued. It longs to experience closeness without fear. That longing is not weakness, it is humanity. And humanity cannot be erased by pretending to be invincible. Real power does not come from isolating yourself, it comes from balance. It is knowing you can stand alone if needed, but you do not have to. It is the wisdom of setting boundaries without building walls. It is the courage to let people in while protecting your peace. It is the maturity to know that strength is not proven by how much you endure alone, but by how authentically you live in the presence of others. Loneliness disguised as strength is fragile. It shatters under pressure. True strength is unshakable because it is rooted in both self-reliance and connection. Imagine the difference in energy between a woman who is truly strong and a woman who is only pretending. The one who is truly strong radiates peace. She does not fear being with others because her identity is secure. She does not run from intimacy because she knows her worth. She does not hide behind walls because she trusts her boundaries. The one who pretends radiates a cold kind of silence. She pushes people away not out of choice but out of fear. She wears solitude as a shield, not as a sanctuary. And the longer she wears it, the heavier it becomes. The truth is simple yet profound. Strength is not the absence of others. Strength is the ability to remain yourself whether others are present or not. It is the confidence to embrace solitude without letting it consume you, and the wisdom to embrace connection without letting it define you. A woman who understands this balance becomes unstoppable. She is not afraid to be alone, but she is also not afraid to love, to trust, to connect. Her strength is not built on hiding. It is built on living fully. So beware of the illusion. Do not let loneliness wear the mask of strength in your life. Do not confuse silence with power or detachment with independence. Protect your peace, yes, but not at the cost of your soul. Let your strength be visible, authentic, and free. Because the world does not need more women who hide behind walls. It needs women who live boldly, who love deeply, who shine brightly without fear. That is the strength worth building, the kind that makes you unshakable not because you are alone, but because you are whole. What many do not realize is that isolation is not only an emotional struggle, it becomes a physical one too. The body listens to the state of the mind, and when loneliness lingers, the body begins to carry its weight. Science has shown that prolonged isolation increases stress hormones, weakens immunity, and even shortens lifespan. Imagine that. The choice to remain hidden, the decision to keep pulling away, slowly reshapes not only your mood, but your very health. What feels like comfort can quietly poison the body, leaving behind exhaustion, tension, and illness. The heart is one of the first to feel the damage. Emotional disconnection raises blood pressure, puts strain on the cardiovascular system, and has been linked to heart disease. It is as if the heart itself is crying out for the connection it was designed to hold. Every beat longs for closeness, yet every moment of withdrawal teaches it emptiness. Over time, the heart grows weary of carrying what the soul refuses to release. This is why many women who spend too much time in silence feel constant fatigue. They are not just tired in the body, they are drained in the spirit. Mental health suffers just as deeply. The brain, deprived of regular interaction, begins to amplify negative thoughts. Anxiety becomes louder, depression creeps in, the mind becomes a closed loop of overthinking, replaying worries again and again without resolution. This is why isolation often leads to restless nights, racing thoughts, and feelings of being trapped. It is not just in your head. It is the natural consequence of starving the brain of the stimulation and balance that connection brings. Human interaction isn't a luxury. It is medicine. Without it, the mind becomes restless, the spirit heavy, and the body weak. The most dangerous part is how subtle the decline can be. At first, it is small things: a lack of energy, a desire to sleep more, the loss of motivation to get ready or step outside. Then it becomes harder to concentrate, harder to stay positive, harder to believe in yourself. Slowly, you stop caring about your dreams. You stop investing in your health. You stop expecting more from life. This slow erosion is not dramatic, but it is devastating. It robs you quietly until you no longer recognize yourself in the mirror. Research tells us that loneliness can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Think about that. A habit so seemingly harmless, spending too much time alone, can equal the destruction of one of the most dangerous addictions known to humanity. And unlike cigarettes, there is no warning label printed on your solitude. There is only the whisper of your own body reminding you that something is wrong. Headaches, fatigue, weakened immunity, increased stress. These are not random symptoms. They are signals. They are your body's way of begging you to step back into the flow of life. But the good news is this: the body is resilient. The mind is flexible. The heart is forgiving. Just as isolation can harm you, reconnection can heal you. Studies prove that even small, meaningful interactions can lower stress, improve mood, and restore health. A conversation with a loved one, a shared laugh, a moment of genuine connection. These are not small things. They are lifelines. They remind the nervous system that it is safe, that it is supported, that it does not need to carry the burden alone. The power lies in awareness. When you recognize the physical cost of prolonged solitude, you can no longer dismiss it as harmless. You understand that staying hidden is not just protecting your peace, it is robbing you of years of life, of vitality, of strength. And when you realize this truth, a choice opens before you. You can continue to let isolation erode you from the inside, or you can begin the process of healing by reconnecting, by reaching out, by embracing the bonds that give life its deepest meaning. True health is not only the absence of disease, it is the presence of energy, joy, and resilience. And these are born not in silence, but in connection. The woman who chooses to step out of isolation does not just heal her mind, she heals her body. Her heart beats stronger, her energy rises, her spirit feels lighter. She begins to walk taller, breathe deeper, live fuller. That transformation is available to anyone who dares to see isolation not as safety, but as a silent thief. So ask yourself, are you protecting your health by staying away, or are you slowly destroying it? Are you feeding your spirit with real nourishment, or starving it with silence? The answer to these questions holds the power to change everything. Your body is speaking, your soul is waiting, and the moment you choose reconnection, you begin to reclaim the life, the energy, and the strength that isolation tried to take from you. Healing begins when you understand that solitude does not have to mean separation. The most powerful women are not those who lock themselves away, but those who know how to draw strength from their own silence while still remaining connected to the world. Independence is not the opposite of connection. True independence is the ability to stand firm in who you are while also opening yourself to love, community, and growth. The moment you realize that solitude and connection can exist together, you unlock a balance that transforms your life. Reconnecting does not require dramatic changes. It begins with small, intentional steps that remind you of your humanity. A phone call to a loved one, a simple walk outside where you greet another soul, a conversation that goes deeper than surface-level words. These may seem like small gestures, but they carry enormous power. They signal to your brain and body that you are part of something bigger, that you are not isolated, that your life touches and is touched by others. That sense of belonging restores the energy that isolation tried to drain. Many women fear that reconnecting will mean losing themselves. They worry that opening their hearts again will invite chaos, that stepping back into relationships will destroy their peace. But this fear comes from past wounds, not from truth. Connection does not have to mean in control. It does not mean allowing toxic people into your life. It means choosing wisely, setting boundaries, and allowing yourself to experience the beauty of genuine bonds without sacrificing your independence. You are not meant to carry everyone. You are meant to connect with those who lift you, not those who drain you. Boundaries are the bridge between independence and connection. Without them, you either isolate completely or give too much of yourself away. With them, you find balance. A boundary says, "See and I will let love in, but I will not allow chaos." It says, "See and I will open my heart, but I will not lose myself." Boundaries protect your peace while connection feeds your spirit. Together, they create the balance that makes you whole. This balance is what transforms solitude from a prison into a sanctuary. When you use solitude to rest, to reflect, to build your inner world, it becomes empowering. When you balance it with meaningful connection, it becomes healing. The two together create harmony. The ability to enjoy your own company without feeling trapped, and to enjoy others without feeling controlled. This harmony is where real strength lives. Think about how your life changes when you embrace this balance. You no longer fear being alone because you know solitude is your time to recharge, not your punishment. You no longer fear connection because you know you can set boundaries that protect your energy. You no longer confuse withdrawal with peace because you understand that peace comes from balance, not extremes. Every area of your life improves. Your health, your confidence, your relationships, your dreams. You move with clarity because you are not hiding and you are not overexposed. You are centered, grounded, alive. Reconnection also awakens purpose. When you live only in isolation, your world shrinks. Your purpose becomes blurred because your perspective is limited. But when you open yourself to meaningful connections, you gain new insights, new encouragement, new motivation. Others reflect back to you parts of yourself you cannot always see. They remind you of your strengths, your talents, your potential. They challenge you to rise higher, to believe more, to grow stronger. Purpose thrives in connection, and without it, your vision of yourself remains small. Do not underestimate the power of simple human bonds. A smile, a kind word, a shared experience. These are not just passing moments. They are reminders that you are alive, that you are not alone, that your existence matters. And when you carry that awareness into your solitude, your silence becomes richer. It becomes a time to process, to reflect, to prepare for the moments of connection that follow. This is the cycle that keeps your spirit strong. Engage, recharge, repeat. Every woman has the power to create this balance. It does not matter how long you have been isolated or how far you feel you have drifted. The choice to reconnect can be made at any moment. It begins with intention and grows with practice. And the reward is extraordinary. Peace without loneliness, independence without detachment, strength without coldness. You begin to live as you were designed, to be both whole within yourself and beautifully connected to the world around you. So do not fear reaching out. Do not fear opening your heart again. Do not fear blending solitude with connection, because the woman who learns this balance becomes unstoppable. She does not crumble under loneliness, and she does not lose herself in others. She stands tall, calm, powerful, and alive. This is the freedom you deserve. This is the strength that isolation can never give you, and once you claim it, you will never again confuse silence with peace or loneliness with independence. You will finally know what it means to be truly free. The deepest transformation happens when you stop running from yourself and start embracing the parts of you that you once avoided. Many women confuse strength with suppressio, thinking that ignoring their feelings makes them tough. But strength is not in burying your emotions. It is in facing them with courage and refusing to let them control you. Every suppressed feeling eventually rises again, and when it does, it demands attention. True healing begins when you allow yourself to sit with those feelings, understand them, and let them teach you rather than imprison you. Self-awareness is the foundation of this transformation. When you know who you are, you no longer fear solitude. You no longer seek validation from outside voices to prove your worth. You no longer rely on distractions to silence your inner unrest. Instead, you begin to stand firmly in your identity, knowing your value is unshakable. Self-awareness allows you to walk into any room, into any relationship, into any challenge with clarity and confidence, because you know your center cannot be taken from you. That awareness is not arrogance. It is alignment with truth. One of the greatest lies that isolation whispers is that you are incomplete, that something is missing within you. But the truth is that you were never incomplete. You only became disconnected from the wholeness you already possess. Society often conditions women to believe that fulfillment comes from outside sources, approval, relationships, material success. Yet the deeper reality is that fulfillment blooms when you realize that everything you seek already exists inside you. External achievements can add to your life, but they cannot complete you. You are already complete, and when you accept that truth, you stop chasing things that drain you and start attracting things that nourish you. The shift happens when you replace self-neglect with self-respect. Neglect is subtle. It looks like overworking, people-pleasing, ignoring your needs, and silencing your voice. It feels noble for a while, but over time, it strips you of your essence. Respect is the opposite. It is giving yourself rest when you need it, speaking G up when something hurts, and choosing environments that value your worth. Respecting yourself sends a powerful signal to your subconscious, I am worthy of care. That signal rewires how you show up in the world, and as a result, the world begins to respond to you differently. People treat you at the level you treat yourself. This transformation also requires courage, because healing means unlearning old patterns that once felt safe. Many women stay in isolation because it feels predictable. They know the pain of loneliness, but they fear the vulnerability of stepping back into connection. Yet growth never happens in comfort zones. To heal, you must be willing to release the patterns that no longer serve you. This is not about perfection, it is about progression. Every step you take towards self-awareness, self-respect, and balance is a step toward freedom. And freedom is always worth the discomfort it takes to get there. When you choose this path, you begin to notice how your energy shifts. You no longer carry the same weight of exhaustion because you are no longer fighting yourself. You no longer feel the same emptiness because you are filling your life with meaning rather than noise. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to